I stood in the marble foyer of the $2.3 million house I'd just bought my son, watching him pop champagne. 3 hours later, I'd be standing on the same porch with my suitcase, locked out. But let me start from the beginning. My name is Margaret Sullivan, Maggie to anyone who matters, and at 72, I'd just made the biggest mistake of my life. Not that I knew it then. Standing in that lawyer's office on that crisp March morning in Chicago, all I felt was pure maternal pride as I signed over the deed to a magnificent house in Naperville to my only son, Ryan. Mrs. Sullivan, are you absolutely certain? Harrison Walsh, my attorney of 25 years, had asked one final time. His gray eyebrows knitted together in that way that meant he disapproved, but would respect my decision. This is an incredibly generous gift. Harrison, I'd replied, sliding the papers back across his mahogany desk. What else am I going to do with $4.8 million? Take it with me? The money had come from selling my shares in Meridian Technologies, where I'd climbed from entry-level accountant to CFO over 35 years. When my husband Daniel died of pancreatic cancer when Ryan was just 10, I'd thrown myself into work. Every late night, every missed school play, every weekend at the office, I told myself it was for Ryan's future. And now, finally, I could give him everything. The house was beyond perfect. 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, a chef's kitchen that looked like it belonged in a magazine, and a backyard that could host a wedding. The previous owners, a Fortune 500 CEO and his wife, had spared no expense. Brazilian hardwood floors, Italian marble countertops, a wine cellar that could hold 500 bottles. It was the American dream wrapped in stone and steel. "Mom, you shouldn't have," Ryan had gasped when I drove him and Jennifer to see it. But even as the words left his mouth, I caught the gleam in his eyes. Not gratitude, something else. Something that made my stomach twist just a little. Jennifer, my daughter-in-law of 20 years, was already mentally redecorating. "Oh, Ryan, we'll need to gut the kitchen, of course. White cabinets are so dated. And this wallpaper in the powder room?" She pulled out her phone, presumably to photograph every flaw in this $2.3 million palace. "But Jen," I ventured carefully, "the kitchen was just renovated 2 years ago. Those are custom Italian cabinets." She waved her manicured hand dismissively. "Maggie, sweetie, you wouldn't understand. I'm building my brand as a lifestyle influencer. Everything needs to be perfect for the gram." She said it like I should know what the gram meant. Like my 35 years in corporate finance meant nothing because I didn't have 50,000 followers watching me make smoothie bowls. Ryan wrapped his arm around her. "Don't worry, babe. We'll make it exactly how you want." Then, turning to me, with that smile that used to mean the world to me, "Right, Mom? You want us to be happy in our new home." Our new home. Not the home you're gifting us or this incredible gesture. Just ours. Like I was already being edited out of the narrative. "Grandma, this is too much." The soft voice came from the staircase where my granddaughter Emma stood, running her hand along the banister. At 17, she was the spitting image of my late husband. Same thoughtful brown eyes, same gentle demeanor. While her parents were calculating renovation costs, she was the only one who seemed to grasp the weight of what I was doing. "You worked your whole life for this money," she continued, walking down to hug me. "Are you sure?" I held her tight, breathing in her vanilla shampoo. "Sweetheart, seeing you have a beautiful home to finish high school in, to come home to from college, that's worth everything to me." She pulled back, steadying my face. "But what about you? Your condo is nice, but—" "Emma!" Jennifer's sharp voice cut through the moment. "Don't be ungrateful. Your grandmother wants to do this." She turned to me with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Right, Maggie? You must be so excited to downsize. All those stairs in your current place can't be good for someone your age." Someone my age? I was 72, not 92. I still did Pilates 3 times a week and had just hiked the Grand Canyon last fall. But to Jennifer, I was already 1 foot in the nursing home. "Actually," I said, keeping my voice level, "I love my condo. The view of Lake Michigan is spectacular, and it's just the right size for now," Ryan interrupted.
But Mom, we've been thinking. There's a lovely assisted living community in Schaumburg, just in case you need it down the road. They have bridge clubs and everything. Bridge clubs. My son, who I'd sent to Northwestern on my salary alone, who I'd supported through 2 failed startups before he finally landed his tech sales job, thought my future consisted of bridge clubs. How thoughtful, I managed, watching as they dispersed through the house like they already owned it, which, in a few days, they would. As I stood alone in that marble foyer, a memory surfaced. Daniel, weak from chemo but still smiling, holding my hand in his hospital bed. Promise me, Maggie, don't let our boy become one of those people who knows the price of everything, but the value of nothing. I'd promised, but watching Ryan calculate the square footage on his phone while Jennifer filmed herself posing by the infinity pool, I wondered if I had already failed. The closing was set for Friday, the biggest gift I'd ever given. I just didn't know yet that it would cost me everything that actually mattered.
I wasn't eavesdropping. I was looking for my reading glasses when I heard my name, followed by laughter. 2 weeks had passed since I'd handed over the keys to paradise. 2 weeks of radio silence from Ryan and Jennifer, except for a text about the housewarming party. Casual elegant, the invitation read. 7 p.m. sharp. Not, we can't wait to see you, Mom, or thank you again for changing our lives. Just instructions, like I was the help. I arrived at 6:45 with my famous lasagna, the one Ryan used to beg for every Sunday, back when he still came to Sunday dinners, back when I was more than a bank account with legs. The circular driveway was packed with Teslas and BMWs. Valets in crisp white shirts directed traffic, while a jazz quartet played on the lawn I'd paid for. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, I could see at least 100 people mingling, with champagne flutes that caught the light from the chandelier I'd noticed cost $50,000. Mrs. Sullivan, a young man in a tuxedo at a housewarming, reached for my lasagna dish. I'll take that to the kitchen. Oh, I thought The caterers have everything under control, ma'am. Alenia has prepared a 7-course tasting menu. Alenia, the most exclusive restaurant in Chicago, where reservations were harder to get than an audience with the Pope. My homemade lasagna, the one with my mother's secret recipe, the one that had comforted Ryan through every heartbreak and celebrated every success, would sit untouched in a kitchen I'd bought while strangers ate $500 per plate molecular gastronomy. I found Ryan holding court in the living room, gesturing broadly as he told a story to a group of men in designer suits. And I said, why settle for less when you can have it all? That's always been my philosophy. Since when? I wanted to ask. Since when was your philosophy anything other than Mom will help? But I smiled and waited for him to notice me. He didn't. Jennifer did, though. She glided over in a dress that probably cost more than most people's rent, air-kissing me like we were acquaintances at a charity gala. Maggie, don't you look comfortable? Her eyes swept over my St. John suit, the one I'd worn to board meetings, the one that had seen me through hostile takeovers and multi-million-dollar negotiations. Apparently, it wasn't quite casual elegant enough.
Jennifer, the house looks beautiful. It did. They'd already changed things. My practical mind calculated. New furniture, at least $100,000. Art on the walls, another $50,000. A complete renovation of the powder room I'd heard her criticize, maybe $30,000. All in 2 weeks. Oh, this is just the beginning, she gushed, steering me toward a group of women who looked like they'd stepped out of a fashion magazine. Ladies, this is Ryan's mother. She's the one who gave us this little place. Little place. $2.3 million was a little place. The women cooed appropriately, but I caught the looks they exchanged. The subtle once-overs, the whispered comments behind manicured hands. I excused myself to find the bathroom, needing a moment to breathe. That's when I heard it. Can you believe she actually thinks they'll let her move in?
The voice was coming from the guest bathroom. Two women, probably hiding from their husbands to gossip in peace. Jennifer said they're already planning to convert her future room into a gym. Ryan promised her a Peloton for her birthday. My future room? I stopped breathing. What future room? Poor thing probably thinks this gift comes with visitation rights, the woman laughed. Jennifer was so smart to nip that in the bud. Can you imagine having your mother-in-law wandering around a house like this? It would completely ruin the aesthetic. I backed away, my heart hammering. Surely they were mistaken. Surely my son hadn't been planning to... No, I needed to find Ryan. There had to be an explanation. I found him on the terrace with a group of his friends from the country club, the one I'd paid for him to join for networking. They were smoking cigars and laughing, silhouetted against the Chicago skyline. Mom's getting clingy in her old age, started dropping hints about her knee bothering her, how the stairs at her place are getting difficult. Thank God we dodged that bullet. My knees are fine. I never said anything about stairs. But dude, she bought you a $2 million house. Doesn't that come with some obligations? $2.3 million, Ryan corrected, taking a long drag of his cigar. And no, that's the beauty of it. The house is in my name, free and clear. She can't hold it over us. Still, another friend mused, must be awkward. She probably expects... The house was perfect timing. Now we have the excuse that there's no room. 6 bedrooms, but, Jennifer needs her influencer studio. I need my office. Emma needs her space. Guest room for when Jen's family visits.
Your mom doesn't count as family? The question came from a younger man I didn't recognize. Ryan laughed, actually laughed. My mom served her purpose. She worked herself to death to give me advantages. And I'm grateful. But gratitude doesn't mean I have to saddle myself with an old woman who still thinks it's 1985. I couldn't move. Couldn't breathe. Served my purpose? That's cold, man, someone said. It's practical, Jennifer's voice chimed in as she joined them, linking her arm through Ryan's. Maggie's sweet, but she doesn't fit our lifestyle. Can you imagine trying to explain cryptocurrency to her at dinner parties? Or having her here when we're entertaining Ryan's CEO? She'd probably try to serve them her little lasagna. They all laughed. At me. At my lasagna. At the woman who'd gone without new clothes for years so Ryan could have the latest everything. Who'd missed my own mother's 80th birthday party because Ryan needed bail money for a DUI he'd begged me to keep secret. I told her the guest room was for my influencer studio, Jennifer continued. She actually believed it, even offered to help me set up the ring lights. More laughter. Best $2.3 million she ever spent on us. To Margaret Sullivan, who gave us everything and expects nothing in return, the perfect mother. They all raised their glasses, laughing at the joke. At me. I stepped out of the shadows. I'd say I'm sorry for interrupting, but I'm not. The color drained from Ryan's face. His cigar fell from his fingers, sparking against the Italian tile I paid for. Mom, we didn't... How long have you... Long enough. I looked at each of their faces, memorizing the shame and shock. Good. Let them squirm. Long enough to understand that I didn't just buy you a house, Ryan. I bought myself the truth. Mom, you misunderstood. He moved toward me, hands outstretched, that little boy look he used to get when he'd broken something. Don't. The word cracked like a whip. For once in your life, don't insult my intelligence on top of everything else. Jennifer dropped the concerned act, her face hardening. We're grateful for the house, Maggie, but we need our space. You understand, right? It's nothing personal. I looked at her, really looked at her. This woman who'd eaten at my table every holiday for 20 years, who'd cried on my shoulder when her father died, who'd let me hold her daughter in the delivery room when Ryan was too squeamish to stay. I write,
It's not personal. It's transactional. I was a transaction. And now it's complete. I turned to leave, but Ryan grabbed my arm. Mom, please, let's talk about this. You're overreacting.
I looked down at his hand on my arm, the hand I'd taught to hold a pencil, to throw a baseball, to shake hands properly for job interviews. Then I looked up at his face, Daniel's eyes in a stranger's expression. I'm done talking. Get out of my way. He let go, and I walked through the party with my head high. Let them whisper. Let them stare. I'd survived hostile boardrooms and corporate betrayals. I could survive this too. But I needed my purse. I left it in the kitchen with my keys inside. I circled back through the side entrance, hoping to grab it quickly and leave. The kitchen was empty, except for the catering staff. My lasagna sat untouched on the counter, still covered in foil. I grabbed my purse and headed for the front door. It wouldn't open. I tried my key. It didn't fit. Mrs. Sullivan? Emma appeared at the top of the stairs, still in her pajamas despite the party. What's wrong? The locks seems to be stuck, sweetheart. She came down, tried the handle. They changed the locks yesterday. Dad said... She trailed off, her face flushing. Dad said it was for security. Security. From the woman who'd paid for everything? The back door was locked too. The side entrance, everything. While I'd been discovering the truth about my son, he'd locked me out of the house I'd given him. Emma was crying now. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I'll get Dad. No. I hugged her tight, memorizing the feeling. Who knew when I'd be allowed to hug my granddaughter again? This isn't your fault. None of this is your fault. The front door opened and Ryan stood there with a box. My emergency overnight bag. I'd left it in the guest room the day of the closing, just in case they needed me. Inside would be my medications, a change of clothes, photos of Daniel. Mom, he said, not meeting my eyes. It's better this way. He set the box on the porch and handed me an envelope. Inside, in Jennifer's perfect handwriting, Mom, it's better this way. We'll call you. Ryan. We'll call you. Like I was a business associate who'd outlived their usefulness. I picked up the box, looked at my son one last time. You want space? I'll give you the entire universe. Then I walked to my car, placed the box carefully in the back seat, and drove away from the $2.3 million mistake that had finally shown me the truth. My hands didn't start shaking until I reached the highway. Then I had to pull over, sobbing so hard I couldn't see. Not for the money. Money could be replaced. But for the son I'd lost. Or maybe for the son I'd never really had at all.
They wanted space. I'd give them the entire universe. I sat in my car in the parking garage of my Lincoln Park condo for 3 hours, engine off, staring at nothing. My face in the rearview mirror looked like a stranger's, mascara streaked, lipstick smudged, eyes swollen and red. This wasn't Margaret Sullivan, CFO. This wasn't the woman who'd stared down board members trying to oust her, who'd rebuilt a department after embezzlement, who'd raised a son alone while climbing the corporate ladder. This was just a foolish old woman who'd tried to buy love and learned it wasn't for sale. My phone buzzed. Emma. Grandma, I'm so sorry. I didn't know they were going to do this. Dad took my phone, but I'm calling for my friends. Are you okay? Where are you? Sweet Emma, the only pure thing left in that family. I'm home, sweetheart. I'm fine. You're not fine, her voice cracked. I heard them talking. Mom said you were handled, like you were a problem to solve. I hate them. No, I said firmly, though my heart was breaking all over again. Don't hate them for me. They're still your parents. Parents who threw away the best person in our family for a gym and an influencer studio, she spat. Grandma, I'm going to talk to them. Make them see. Emma, no. This is between your parents and me. Focus on school, on your future. What about your future? She whispered. You gave them everything. Not everything, I thought, looking at my condo building. Not quite everything. After we hung up, I dragged myself upstairs. My condo, 2,000 square feet of prime Lincoln Park real estate, had never felt more precious. The view of Lake Michigan stretched endlessly, city lights twinkling like fallen stars. This was mine, paid for before I'd ever dreamed of giving Ryan millions. My sanctuary. I poured myself a generous glass of the Macallan 25 I'd been saving for a special occasion. If discovering your son was a monster didn't qualify, what did? The next morning, I called Harrison Walsh. Margaret, he said carefully, I heard about the party. Did you know? When you asked if I was certain, did you know what they were planning? A pause. I suspected. The way Ryan pushed for the deed to be solely in his name, how he asked about tax implications if you were to pass soon. I tried to warn you.
Pass soon. My healthy, active 72-year-old self was supposed to conveniently die after signing over my fortune. I need to see all the paperwork, Harrison. Everything. Of course, but Margaret, the house is legally theirs. There's no, I'm not trying to get it back. I need to understand what else I signed. That afternoon, in Harrison's office, I discovered the full extent of my generosity and stupidity. You paid for premium insurance, Harrison noted, flipping through documents. $30,000 annually for comprehensive coverage, fire, flood, earthquake, acts of God, everything. Ryan insisted on basic coverage only, said comprehensive was a waste. Harrison's eyes sharpened. But you paid for it? Through my account. I didn't want to burden them with the expense. I laughed bitterly. Burden them. Margaret, the house is legally theirs. There's no, I'm not trying to get it back. I need to understand what else I signed. That afternoon, in Harrison's office, I discovered the full extent of my generosity and stupidity. You paid for premium insurance, Harrison noted, flipping through documents. $30,000 annually for comprehensive coverage, fire, flood, earthquake, acts of God, everything. Ryan insisted on basic coverage only, said comprehensive was a waste. Harrison's eyes sharpened. But you paid for it. Through my account. I didn't want to burden them with the expense. I laughed bitterly. Burden them. Margaret, the house is legally theirs. There's no... It means you can cancel it, change it, let it lapse. He studied me over his glasses. The renewal date is next month. I stared at the policy. Comprehensive coverage for a $2.3 million property. Protection from everything from burst pipes to acts of God. What kind of mother would let her son's insurance lapse? I asked the lake view outside his window. The kind whose son locked her out of the house she bought him, Harrison replied quietly. I made my decision in that moment. They wanted to be independent. They could be fully independent. I won't renew it. Let them handle their own insurance. Harrison nodded slowly. I'll make a note. The policy expires April 15th. Tax day. How fitting. Over the next few weeks, I rebuilt my life with the methodical precision I'd once applied to corporate restructuring. First, I changed my will. The remaining $2.5 million would go to Emma's education and various charities.
Ryan would get exactly what he'd given me. Nothing. Then I blocked their numbers. Every call, every text, every email, blocked. The silence was deafening at first. I'd spent 45 years with Ryan's voice as my North Star. Now I navigated by different lights. I started therapy with Dr. Patricia Reeves, a no-nonsense woman who specialized in family trauma.
"You're grieving," she told me in our third session. "Not just the son you lost, but the son you thought you had." "I feel so stupid," I admitted. "All those years, thinking I was building something, a legacy, a family. You built a successful career. You raised a child alone. You survived widowhood. That's not nothing, Margaret. But I failed as a mother. Did you, or did Ryan fail as a son?" The question haunted me. I threw myself into new activities, joined a hiking club for seniors, though I could outpace people 20 years younger, enrolled in art classes at the Art Institute, volunteered at a financial literacy program for single mothers, teaching them what I'd learned the hard way. Don't sacrifice your security for anyone, not even your children, especially not your children. It was at a gallery opening in River North where I met David Chen. "Striking piece," a voice said beside me as I studied a painting of a woman standing alone on a cliff, storm clouds gathering. I turned to find a distinguished man with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. It reminds me of King Lear, but with better fashion sense. He laughed, a warm, genuine sound. "David Chen, and you're right, though I always thought Cordelia should have just taken the money and run. Margaret Sullivan. And yes, honesty is expensive in families." We talked for 2 hours. He was a retired architect, widowed 3 years ago. His daughter lived in Seattle, his son in Boston. He visit when they can, he said, and I heard what he didn't say. They had their own lives, but they still made room for him. "Would you like to get coffee sometime?" he asked as the gallery closed. "I know a place that makes the best eclairs outside of Paris." "I'd like that," I said, surprised to find I meant it. "Emma texted me from a burner phone she'd bought. Mom found out about your dates with David. She's furious. Says you're having a midlife crisis at 72. A midlife crisis. I was having a life, period. For the first time in decades, I was living for myself. Not for Ryan, not for his approval, not for some fantasy of being the perfect mother. April 15th came and went. I didn't renew the insurance. 2 days later, Harrison called. The insurance company contacted Ryan about the lapse. He's trying to get new coverage. Good luck to him. Premium insurance for a $2.3 million property without my credit score and history? He'd be looking at $50,000 a year minimum if anyone would cover him at all. Harrison said carefully, "He's been calling the office, demanding to speak with you. He seems desperate." Then he knows how I felt standing on his porch with a box of my belongings. I hung up and went back to my painting, a landscape of the lake at sunset. David had suggested I try watercolors. "They're unpredictable," he'd said. "Like life. You have to learn to work with the chaos, not against it."
My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Mrs. Sullivan? This is Jennifer's mother, Carol. I'm sorry to bother you, but I'm worried. Jenny called me crying about insurance and bills and... What's going on? She said you abandoned them?" I almost laughed. "Carol, your daughter and my son locked me out of the house I bought them because I was a burden. I didn't abandon anyone. I was dispossessed." Silence. Then, "Oh, Margaret, I'm so sorry. I didn't know. Jenny made it sound like... I should have known better. You've always been nothing but generous to them." Apparently too generous. "Is there anything I can do?" "Yes," I said. "Tell them to grow up and handle their own problems, like adults do." That night, David and I watched the sunset from my balcony, sharing a bottle of wine in comfortable silence. He didn't know the whole story yet. We were taking things slow, but he knew enough. "You're different from when we met," he observed. "Lighter, somehow." "I cut some dead weight from my life," I said. "Must have been heavy. $2.3 million worth." He whistled low. "That's an expensive lesson. Worth every penny to learn it." My phone sat silent on the table between us. No calls from Ryan, no texts from Jennifer. For the first time in 45 years, I wasn't waiting for my son to need me. The freedom was intoxicating and terrifying and absolutely necessary. "More wine?" David asked. "Why not?" I said. "I can afford it." We clinked glasses as the sun sank into Lake Michigan, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Somewhere in Naperville, my son was discovering that independence came with a price tag. But here in Lincoln Park, I was discovering something priceless, that I was enough, just as I was. The storm was coming. I could feel it in the unusual warmth for April, in the way the clouds gathered on the horizon. But for tonight, I was safe in my sanctuary, with a good man beside me and a future that belonged to no one but myself. They wanted space, they had the entire universe, and I had everything that mattered.
The call came at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. The same son who changed his locks was now sobbing into the phone. I'd been sound asleep. David beside me. We'd been dating 6 months and he'd started staying over on weekends. The phone rang once, twice, 3 times. Unknown number. I almost silenced it, but something, mother's instinct, maybe, that apparently never dies no matter how badly you've been betrayed, made me answer. "Mom?" The voice was broken, desperate, unrecognizable. "Mom, please don't hang up." "Ryan?" I sat up, instantly awake. David beside me, concerned. "The house." A sob cut through his words. "Everything's destroyed. The storm, the tree. We could have died." My blood ran cold. Chicago had been hit by a massive storm system. The worst in 50 years, they'd said on the news. Tornadoes, 100-mile-per-hour winds, baseball-sized hail. I'd watched from my high-rise windows as the city battened down, grateful for my sturdy building. "Are you hurt? Is Emma—" "We're okay. We were in the basement. But Mom, the house—" His voice cracked completely. "The 100-year-old oak came through the roof. The entire east wing is gone. Water damage everywhere. The adjuster said, take a break, Ryan. He said it's at least $1.5 million in damage, maybe more, and we're not covered." The last words came out in a whisper. "Mom, we have no insurance." I closed my eyes. There it was. You let the insurance lapse. Not a question. We tried to get new coverage after April, but they wanted $60,000 a year. Jen said we could wait, save up for a few months, that storms like this never happened. He was hyperventilating now. "Mom, we're going to lose everything." "Where are you now?" "A hotel. The house is uninhabitable. The fire department condemned it until repairs are done. But we can't afford repairs without insurance, and we can't get a loan because we're already maxed out, and..." "Maxed out? How are you maxed out? You both work. The house was free and clear." Silence. Then, in a small voice, "We took out a home equity loan for renovations. And Jen's influencer business, and the country club membership, and..." "How much?"
$800,000?
Mom, please. I know I don't deserve it, but Emma, she's supposed to start college next year. We'll lose the house to foreclosure. We'll have nothing. Nothing. Like I'd had nothing when I stood on their porch with a box of my belongings. I'll think about it, I said, and hung up. David was fully awake now, his architect's mind already calculating. 1.5 million in storm damage. That's catastrophic. 100-year-old oak, I murmured. I told them to have it checked. The inspector noted it needed attention, but they said it was fine, that it gave the property character. Margaret, he took my hand. This isn't your fault. But wasn't it? I'd let the insurance lapse. I'd known storm season was coming. I'd made a choice born of hurt and anger, and now? The phone exploded with calls. 47 missed calls by morning. Text after text. Mom, please call me back. We're desperate. Think of Emma. I'm sorry for everything. Please, you're our only hope. Mom, I'm begging you. Then Jennifer started. Maggie, I know I don't deserve your help, but please think of Emma. We'll pay you back every penny. You can move in with us. We'll make it right. Please don't abandon your granddaughter. That last one made me throw my phone across the room. Abandon Emma? They were the ones who'd used her college fund as collateral for a loan. By noon, Ryan was at my building's security desk. Let him up, I told the doorman. I'd faced hostile takeovers. I could face my son. He looked destroyed. The confident man who'd laughed with his friends about dodging the bullet of my old age was gone. In his place stood someone who had aged 10 years in 6 months. His clothes were wrinkled, his face unshaven, his eyes red-shot. My God, Ryan! The mother in me wanted to hug him. The woman he betrayed kept her distance. Mom, he stood in my foyer, the same foyer he'd suggested I was too old to navigate, looking lost. Can I come in? I led him to the living room. He sat on the edge of my sofa like he might break it, or like he was afraid I'd throw him out. Good. Tell me everything, I said. The story poured out. After getting the house, they'd gone wild. Jennifer quit her part-time job to become a full-time influencer. We thought we had made it, he said, head in his hands. The house was our ticket to the life we deserved. Deserved? I let the word hang between us. What exactly did you do to deserve it? He flinched. I know. God, I know. We were monsters. What we said, what we did, there's no excuse. No, there isn't. Mom, I'm sorry. I'm so fucking sorry. He was crying now, ugly sobs that shook his whole body. We threw away the only parent I have left for granite countertops and Instagram likes. I called you a burden. You, who worked 60-hour weeks to put me through college, who missed vacations to pay for my mistakes, who gave me everything. Pretty words, Ryan. Where were they 6 months ago? I was an idiot. Jen and I, we fed off each other's greed. We convinced ourselves we were entitled to that life, that you were holding us back from it. He looked up at me with red-rimmed eyes. Do you know what the worst part is? The night of the storm, when that tree came through the roof, the first thing I thought wasn't about insurance or money. It was that I wanted my mom, and I'd thrown her away. What do you want from me, Ryan? Help, a loan, anything. He pulled out a folder with shaking hands. I've done the math. If we can get $500,000, we can start repairs, get the house habitable. I'll get a second job. Jen's parents might help with some. We'll pay you back every penny. With what? You're already $800,000 in debt. We'll sell everything. The cars, the jewelry, downsize everything. Mom, please. I know I don't deserve it, but you're right. You don't deserve it. I stood, walking to the window. Lake Michigan stretched endlessly, indifferent to human drama. You had everything, Ryan. A free house, a mother who loved you, a daughter who adored you. And you threw it all away for what? To impress people at a country club? Yes,
His voice was barely a whisper. And now I've lost it all. The friends disappeared when the money ran out. Jen and I were barely speaking. She blames me for not maintaining the insurance. I blame her for the spending. Emma won't talk to either one of us. Says we're getting what we deserve. Smart girl, that Emma. Mom, I'm not asking you to forgive me. I'm not even asking you to love me again. I'm just asking for help. One last time.
One last time. How many last times had I already given him? I need to think, I said. Come back tomorrow. He stood, hope flickering in his eyes. You'll consider it? I'll think about it. That's all I'm promising. After he left, I called Harrison. He wants $500,000, I told him. Claims he'll pay it back. Do you believe him? I don't know what I believe anymore. Margaret, can I be frank? You have $2.5 million left. You could help him and still be comfortable. The question isn't whether you can, it's whether you should. And? That's not a legal question, that's a mother question. That night, Emma called from her burner phone. Grandma, Dad came to see you, didn't he? Yes. Are you going to help? What do you think I should do? A long pause. I love my parents, she said finally, but they need to learn. They hurt you so badly. They hurt me too, using my college fund for their stupid loans. If you help them now, they'll never change. And if I don't, then maybe they'll finally grow up. Grandma, I got into Northwestern, full scholarship, academic merit. I don't need their money. I don't need their house. I just need to know that sometimes actions have consequences. My brilliant granddaughter, 17 years old and wiser than her parents had ever been. I love you, Emma. I love you too. Whatever you decide, I understand. I sat with David on the balcony that night, wrestling with the decision. What would you do? I asked. I'm not a parent, he said carefully, but I think there's a difference between helping someone and enabling them. The question is, which would this be? The next morning, Ryan returned. He cleaned up, shaved, worn a suit, trying to look like the son I'd once been proud of. I've made my decision, I said before he could speak. He leaned forward, hands clasped like prayer. I'm sorry, Ryan, I can't help you. The hope drained from his face like water from a broken cup. Mom, my money is tied up in irrevocable trusts now. It wasn't entirely a lie. I've moved $2 million to charitable trusts after his first call. The rest was protected in investment accounts that would take significant penalties to access. Even if I wanted to help, I couldn't access that kind of money quickly. But you have this condo you could borrow against it. The condo that you thought was too much for me to handle. I let that sink in. No, Ryan, I won't risk my home for yours. Not again. So that's it? You're just going to let us lose everything? I'm letting you experience the consequences of your choices, the same way you let me experience the consequences of mine when I stood on your porch with my belongings in a box. That's different. Is it? You wanted independence. You got it. You wanted me out of your life. I left. You can't call me back just because independence is expensive.
He stood abruptly. I can't believe you're doing this. Your own son. I couldn't believe it either, I said quietly. When my own son locked me out of the house I'd bought him, when he called me a burden, when he laughed with his friends about dodging the bullet of my old age. People will know, he said desperately. Everyone will know you let your son go bankrupt. What will they think? I don't care what they think. I spent 45 years caring what people thought, caring what you thought. I'm done. He stormed toward the door, then turned back. You know what? Jennifer was right. You are a bitter old woman, sitting on your money like a dragon, watching your family burn. There it is, I said sadly. The real Ryan. It didn't take long for him to show up again, did it? He left, slamming the door so hard my paintings rattled. I sank into my chair, exhausted. David appeared from the bedroom where he'd been giving us privacy. You okay? No, I admitted, but I will be. 3 weeks later, Emma sent me a photo from the newspaper. Naperville House foreclosure. storm damage and debt for sale. The picture showed my beautiful gift, half destroyed, with a foreclosure notice on the door. Ryan and Jennifer divorced 2 months later. He moved back to a studio apartment. She moved in with her parents. Emma stayed with Jennifer's parents to finish high school, visiting me every weekend. "Do you regret it?" she asked one Saturday, as we baked cookies, my mother's recipe, the one I'd never teach Ryan's family now. "I regret it," I admitted, "but not the way you think. I regret that it came to this. I regret that money revealed who they really were, but I don't regret protecting myself. Dad's working 2 jobs now. He's paying off the debt. Mom's working too. They're both miserable. Good. Maybe misery will teach them what comfort couldn't." My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, then saw it was a photo. Ryan, standing in front of the destroyed house, holding a sign. "I'm sorry, Mom." I stared at it for a long moment, then deleted it. Sorry was just a word, like gratitude, like love, just words unless backed by actions. "Grandma?" Emma touched my arm. "You okay?" I looked at my granddaughter, the only good thing to come from this whole mess, and you know what? I am. I really am. And for the first time in months, I meant it. The house was gone, the money was gone, the son I thought I had was gone, but I was still here, still standing, still strong, and that was worth more than any $2.3 million house could ever be.
They say revenge is a dish best served cold, but I wasn't serving anything. I was dining at a 5-star restaurant in Paris. 6 months after the foreclosure, I sat at a sidewalk cafe on the Champs-Élysées, watching the world pass by. David sat across from me, sketching the Arc de Triomphe in his notebook. We'd been in Europe for 3 weeks, Amsterdam, Rome, and now Paris. My passport, unused for decades while I saved every penny for Ryan, was finally getting the stamps it deserved. "You're smiling," David observed, looking up from his sketch. "Am I?" I touched my face, surprised. Somewhere between the Colosseum and the Eiffel Tower, I'd stopped checking my phone for messages that never came. Stopped wondering if I'd made the right choice. Stopped feeling guilty for choosing myself. Emma's video call interrupted our lunch. Behind her, the Northwestern campus bloomed with spring flowers. "Grandma, how's Paris?" "Magnificent, sweetheart. How are finals?" "Aced my economics exam. Professor Martinez says I have a gift for understanding market consequences." She grinned. "Wonder where I got that from." We chatted about her classes, her new friends, her summer internship at a financial firm, one I'd recommended her to, though she'd earned it on her own. Then her face grew serious. "Mom and Dad are finalizing the divorce next week. They're both different now." "Different how?" "Quieter, humbler. Dad's been sober for 3 months. Mom's working as a store manager, actual work, not influencing. They're living separately in small apartments. No more designer clothes or country clubs." "And how do you feel about that?" Emma considered. "Sad, but also relieved. They're finally real people instead of Instagram characters. Mom admitted what they did was unforgivable. Dad says losing you was worse than losing the house." "Words are easy, Emma. I know. That's why I told them they need to earn forgiveness, not expect it." My wise granddaughter. At 18, she understood what her parents, at 45, were just learning. After we hung up, David reached for my hand. "Any regrets?" I thought about Ryan's latest letter, handwritten on cheap paper, arriving at my condo last week. Real remorse this time. No requests for money, just accountability. I read it, felt the old maternal tug, then filed it away. Maybe someday I'd answer. Maybe not. The freedom to choose was mine now.
"You know what the biggest lesson in all this was?" I said, watching a young couple argue over a map. "Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is let people fail. Ryan needed to lose everything to find anything real in himself. And you? I needed to lose my illusions to find my life. I squeezed his hand. 72 years old, and I finally learned that self-respect isn't selfish, it's survival. That night, from our hotel balcony overlooking the twinkling city, I raised a glass of champagne. Not to the son I'd lost or the money I'd spent, but to the woman I'd become. The one who knew her worth wasn't measured in what she could give others, but in what she refused to give up, her dignity. Emma texted a photo. Her first college grades, straight A's. For you, Grandma, the only inheritance I ever needed was your strength. I smiled, really smiled, not the bitter smile of revenge or the sad smile of regret, but the genuine smile of a woman who'd learned the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes love means letting go. Sometimes strength means saying no. And sometimes the best thing you can buy with $2.3 million is the truth about who really loves you. As David pulled me close and Paris sparkled below, I realized I hadn't lost anything that mattered. I'd invested in the most valuable asset of all, myself. And the return on that investment? Priceless.